So today we are going to be cooking some pistachio crusted salmon with seasoned potatoes and seared zucchini spears. Now this is a great dinner when you feel like something a little bit nice and fancy, but you don't want to go out to a restaurant. This dinner also comes together in less than 25 minutes. So let's get cooking. So these are the ingredients that you should have to begin your pecan crusted salmon meal. We're going to have zucchini spears that are seared. We're going to have Parmesan garlic potatoes, and we're going to have, of course, the beautiful salmon. Your salmon fillet should be about 6 to 8 ounces. They vary a little bit when you get them in the grocery store. I'm using wild caught salmon, so it tends to be a little more red than what you see in some grocery stores, but it's just the same thing. You need 5 or 6 small, and you see how small these are. These are red potatoes, small red potatoes, and a small, this is the smallest one I could find, zucchini. And these are your ingredients. For the potatoes, we're going to have some seasoning, but we're also going to have garlic, butter, and we're also going to have some Parmesan at the very end. For the salmon, we're going to have honey mustard with a pistachio topping. We're going to have our house seasoning mix, and I'll talk about that in just a second. And of course, you need a good quantity of olive oil. This is about 3/4 of a cup, and I'll show you why we need that much and how we're going to use it. Now let's talk about this spice mix. This is something that I use at my house all the time. This is a basic seasoning mix for almost everything you cook. It doesn't matter if it's chicken, it's steak, it's pork, it does not matter. Vegetables, anything, even salad, are good with this particular seasoning. So everything we're cooking is going to start with this basic seasoning. And you want to be sure it's mixed up well. When it's mixed up, it'll look something like this. So that's your basic seasoning. Now the first thing we're going to do is tackle the thing that's going to take the longest to cook. In this case, it's the potatoes. Now when you are cooking potatoes and you're wanting something to get done quickly, there's a little trick to it. Take your little potatoes and put them on a paper plate just like this and put them into the microwave for about a minute. These are very small potatoes. But what we're doing is we are cooking them or partially cooking them. And so that way when you put them into your olive oil and your spices, they're already partially cooked, so you're only browning them in the oven. This is one of the things that makes this recipe go so quickly. And you'll see when you slice them, you can tell they're already partially cooked. Now once your potatoes are cooked, as this one is, you're going to cut them into small pieces that are about 1/2 inch. Now we are going to take a Ziploc bag like this, and we're going to add to that Ziploc bag about 1/2 cup of this oil. So we'll have about 1/4 cup left, right? And we'll save that for the zucchini. Now into this bag we are going to put a tablespoon of our house seasoning. And you want to carefully mix it around so it's dispersed within your olive oil. And it looks like this. Now these potatoes are just lightly seasoned. They're not meant to be seasoned heavily. Remember, we're going to put butter and garlic and Parmesan on them at the very end of their bake time. So this is exactly how they're supposed to be. So let's put these in the oven. Now you're going to hang on to this bag of seasoning and oil because we're going to put our salmon fillet in that. And remember, we want to lightly season this meat. It's going to have the topping of honey mustard and pistachio, but we want to lightly season all the rest of it as well. And then you're going to take it and put it skin side down on your cooking tray. Now yours may or may not have skin on it. It really doesn't matter. I prefer it skin on, but it's up to you. Whatever you can get at your grocery store is fine. Now we're going to add the honey mustard and the pistachio. Okay, quick tip number 2. How do you chop up or crush pistachios? So what I do is I put pistachios into a Ziploc bag like this and then crush them with a hammer. This crushes them exactly how you need them for this recipe or for any recipe, and this works with almost any nut. I add the honey mustard first, and then I stick the pistachios to the honey mustard. And cooking salmon varies depending on how thick your particular salmon fillet is. This one's actually pretty thin, but it can take somewhere between 12 to 15 minutes in a 400-degree oven, but you're just going to have to watch it and see when yours is done depending on how thick it is. You're going to take your zucchini, cut off each end, and cut it in half about right there. And you're going to cut these into spears. And you want them to more or less be the same thickness and shape. Now we're going to come over and we're going to check everything in our little oven. The potatoes are sizzling away. Won't be long till they're done. We just want them crispy. And of course our salmon is cooking. It'll be a few more minutes, but you can see it's starting to look delicious. Okay, our olive oil is now hot. And we're going to put in our little squash spears. Now once we get all of our squash in the pan, be sure everything has olive oil under it. This is our house-made seasoning again, and this is about 1.5 teaspoons. And we're going to start to sprinkle that on. Very gently. We don't want to over-season it, but absolutely don't want to under-season it either. So I'm going to sprinkle on about half of what's left here. I'm going to add just a little bit more seasoning to these. I'm going to add the rest of this seasoning. Because you know they're in the olive oil, so that takes off a little bit of the seasoning as you turn it. But I'm going to add the rest of this seasoning and let them cook a little bit longer. Now the potatoes always take the longest to get done, but actually it's just about the same time as the salmon. The salmon I just took out. These we're going to put the final step onto this. I'm going to take my butter and garlic powder and melt the butter. Now your butter is completely melted. You want to stir that garlic powder up in there. Be sure it's all together. And you're going to take your little potatoes and you're going to pour this butter garlic mixture over your potatoes. Just a little stream all over your potatoes, okay? Give them that little garlicky taste. Then you're going to take 1.5 tablespoons of Parmesan cheese, grated Parmesan, and you're going to sprinkle that across the top of your potatoes. And this is one of those times when more is not better. It's just more. Because Parmesan cheese is really salty, and if you put too much Parmesan on your potatoes, they're going to be too salty. So just a little bit, 1.5 tablespoons over your little potatoes, and pop them back in the oven for about 2 minutes. And there you have it, your delicious garlic Parmesan potatoes, beautifully seared, healthy zucchini, and a wonderful pistachio crusted piece of salmon. And these nuts are nice and toasted. I wish you could smell how fabulous this smells. If you've enjoyed this recipe, please click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and you'll get a new recipe every Friday on Cooking for One.